Hello! Welcome to another episode of Real RAD Women. This episode is going to be a little bit different because as I am sitting here filming this, there are two things going through my mind. First of all, we've already shared 5 stories of 5 rad women who have changed their lives and reinvented themselves after divorce. So I want to take a break today because there's also something else going on. Today is Thanksgiving in the United States, so I'm feeling extra reflective about my life and the lives of these women who I've been speaking with and your life. I'm thinking about everyone out there who may not be feeling so great about their circumstances. I mean, come on, we're sitting in the middle of a pandemic that has gone on longer than I think any of us could have ever imagined beyond our wildest dreams. And frankly, there are a lot of things going on that could make you feel pretty down. And that's why I just want to take a minute, because there is really, truly so much to be thankful and grateful for in our lives. The fact that you are listening to this message means that you're in a position where you have access to technology that can connect you with other people, connect you with other ideas. And as frustrated and alone as you may feel, know that that's actually not the case. You are not alone. There are other people out there who are feeling similar to you and who are just energetically banding together with you, people out there who want to help and support you. So know that those resources are there, and know that there are stories here in this channel that are offering those kinds of resources. What these women share through their experiences and through some of the professional offerings that they have are for you. And that's why I'm doing this. So I just want to take a break because we've done 5 episodes. Maybe you've seen them all, maybe you haven't. I want to take the time for you to be able to go back and explore, look into some of the resources that women like Jan and Fabiana and myself are offering. And as a special treat, I also want to give you the heads up on something that I'm very excited about. This week, the pre-launch started for a book called The Game Changer. It's volume 5 of a book that has been going out for the last few years, and it features the inspiring stories of entrepreneurs, people who have created their own businesses and who have had defining moments in their lives where they can point back and say, that's where things changed. That's the lesson that I learned. And that's the inspiration that I have that now has me going out, doing something different, serving people, helping people. That's really the purpose of The Game Changer. That's the purpose of a lot of the entrepreneurs who I network with. And I am featured in this edition of The Game Changer. And I'm super excited to share my story. It's actually the story that I share in episode 1 of Real RAD Women. So I am going to give you a little surprise, and I have an edited version of that first episode that I'm going to share with you today as well, just as a reminder of why I'm here, why I'm doing this for you, and to be able to read my story in print and the rest of the stories. There are 34 other authors who are also featured in this book called The Game Changer. I'm going to share the link so that you can purchase that book. It's available for pre-sale right now only in the Kindle edition, and it's only $1.99 US on Amazon. So you can go now until December 2nd. That's when the actual launch is. That's when the print edition is available. And prior to that, for $1.99, you can download the Kindle version. And I would be so thrilled and honored if you would do that. This is a very dear event for me because I have been passionate about writing my entire life. When I was younger, and I share this in some of my stories, I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to be a journalist, and that's really what the path that I was studying in college was leading me to. And the cards did not play out that way based on the choices that I made, and the writing went on the back burner. And it's exhilarating now for me to step back into that passion and that love, to re-engage with who I really am and the things that I know I'm supposed to be doing in my life, not because it's based on someone else's plan, but because this is what is within me and this is my calling. So the Game Changer, my chapter in that book is chapter 3, My Road to Reinvention. And there's more to come from me because I am working on a larger writing project that I'm apparently publicly sharing now, that I am earnestly working on to get out there, because it is very much in alignment with the story that I share in the Game Changer, with the story that I share with you on an ongoing basis, and the purpose to help inspire and motivate other people, other women who are going through tough times so they can reinvent their lives. Divorce can be difficult. Change can be difficult. The holiday season can be difficult. And when we have the tools to be able to navigate all of these challenging times, life is so much better. And that's what I'm here to share. That's why I'm doing this. And that is why I would love for you to be able to learn more from me and from these 34 other amazing authors in the Game Changer. You've got the links to be able to procure your own copy. And I also, again, am just so thrilled to have the opportunity to share with you the story of how I came here, how I got to be this reinvention guide, and how my life didn't always look like this. And I wasn't always really in tune with what I really wanted. And it's a lot better now that I am. So please enjoy this replay version of episode 1 of Real RAD Women, featuring me, Melissa Kramer. My Road to Reinvention. So my reinvention actually began before, many years before my divorce happened. It was 2011, and I had just given birth to my second child. And if you've ever had children, you may relate to the notion that you feel all the feelings after you have a baby. And I was definitely in that place in my life. When I left the hospital with that little tiny person in my arms, I was so full of emotion. It was the autumn of 2011. And I was excited, I was nervous, and more than anything, I was just so happy. I felt like my life and my family was complete. I had basically checked all the boxes of the important list of accomplishments in my life. Oh, look, I have a list of accomplishments right here. Basically, all the things that I thought and believed I was supposed to do or be doing in my life to be deemed successful, I'd done. I had graduated from college. I got a really good job. I was working in advertising sales, and I was at the top of my game in 2011. I'd been super successful in my career. I was making lots of money. Check. Got married in 2011. I had been married for about 7, going on 8 years. Buy a big house. We lived in a massive, beautiful home in a really affluent neighborhood in the suburbs of Detroit, where my husband and I both worked. That was the get married part. Oh, have kids. Check. Had 2 of them. I had an older son who was just going on 2, and the new baby. And, oh, right, I don't know if you can read this. Be perfect. The whole idea that I had just had instilled in me from a very early age, through just my upbringing and through the media and everything that I had been exposed to. I mean, as women, there are so many messages that we get, and I was receiving them all, and very, very much a little sponge to the whole idea that I was supposed to project this image of perfection. I was smart, I was successful, I was confident, I was well dressed, I presented myself really well, I was bubbly and always happy, and this image of perfection. I was doing it all. So as far as I was concerned, in 2011, I was killing it. Little did I know when I exited the hospital with that little baby in my arms, feeling like my life was perfect, that 9 months later, my world would shatter, completely shatter and come out from underneath me. And I would embark on the path that would lead me to learn the most important lesson of my life. So like I said, I was killing it after I had that baby, except for one thing. I realized as I settled into my new role as a mother that I was feeling a little bit off. You know, I had already had one child, so it wasn't like I was a new mom, but I was a new mom to more than one child. And I felt just a little bit different in my skin. I was really, if I'm being totally honest, feeling like I was losing my grip. And I was super ashamed to admit it to myself, let alone anybody else. Because of all those things I listed on that checklist, I thought I was supposed to be a certain way, and it was not okay for me to not feel right about how I felt about myself. I was feeling really down. I had major baby blues that I did not want to admit, feeling like a failure, not feeling super motivated, trying to be happy and light, not really feeling like I was having a great handle on that amazing career of mine, kind of losing my mojo in that. And then I also realized something seemed weird in my marriage. And I can't remember exactly when I started to really take notice, but when I did, whoosh, I noticed. I first started my little oh, wait a minute, something's wrong, when I realized that my husband didn't really kiss me anymore. And he used to kiss me all the time, but no good morning kiss, no good night kiss, no nothing. No kisses, no interest in any kind of intimacy with me, which at first I didn't think of, no big deal. I had just had a baby and I wasn't really feeling all that frisky myself. And plus I was going through all of these different feelings. So I was very consumed in that and very, very, very much trying to channel and redirect my feelings to still trying to act like everything was perfect, really focus on being a good mom. And so some of the other things were kind of going by the wayside. So not really affectionate with me, not really interested in doing things with us as a family. I started to take note. He was kind of always opting out of stuff, kind of opting out of even wanting to hang out with me or even have conversations with me. And the big final thing that really finally got my attention, whoosh, okay, well, pay attention, lady, there's something going on. I noticed he wasn't making eye contact with me. He didn't even really look at me. And when I would really approach him, after I took a first notice of it, I kind of experimented with it a little bit. I know it kind of sounds crazy, but I would get in front of him and try and talk to him, and he would completely divert his eyes and do whatever he could to not make eye contact with me. It was so strange and hurtful and confusing. So I immediately took stock of myself in the sense of, hey, something's wrong. I need to fix it. I need to take control of this situation, and I need to right this train that seems to be going off the tracks. So I set out on this silent mission to win back the attention and affection of my husband. I was thinking something was wrong, and I had obviously been the cause of it. So let me try and do something to make it right. So I tried to do all kinds of things to get things maybe back on a good plane. I cleaned up a lot of the messes that I had been leaving around the house. I'm talking pretty major clutter situations that I knew really bothered him. My messiness got under his skin big time. So I made a huge effort to do some major cleanup, organization. Nah, he didn't really notice. He noticed, but it was just sort of oh, I see you picked up all your clothes finally. And that was it. I tried to alleviate some of the stress that I felt he was having by taking on some home repair projects and having some things done for him so he wouldn't have to worry about them. Didn't really take much of a notice to that either, really. It was just oh, That's great, thanks. Not a lot of emotion, didn't really seem all that jazzed about all the stuff I was doing. I then tried to buy him things, plan dates. I, bought him presents that aligned with some of the stuff he loved: golf, wine, sports. Got a new TV. I cashed in some gift cards and got him this awesome big TV so he could watch his news and his sports, which he always watched. And I didn't get that thing, that response I was looking for in anything. So I just was really feeling more and more. The harder I tried, the more rejected I felt, the more defeated, more like a failure. And I was feeling more and more alone. And I would always think to myself, gosh, I should write like a book someday with a title like Perfectly Happily Married, or Single Parent in a Perfectly Happy Marriage, or something like that. Because that's what I felt like. I felt like a single parent. And I thought I was in this partnership. We'd been married 8 years. We'd been together 5 before we even had kids together. And when we met, we just gelled so well. We seemed like such a great match. We came from similar backgrounds. We both were very driven in our careers and driven to kind of move up in the world. We both actually had ambitions when we first met that we were going to relocate and live in different cities. We almost didn't even start dating because we met at a wedding in 2001. And I was planning to move to San Francisco, where my best friend lived, and he was planning to move in with some friends in Chicago. So it kind of seemed not really like a good idea to start dating if we were both planning to move. 9/11 happened that same year, actually right around the same time that we met, and it changed my plans completely. Instead of this drive for adventure and excitement and moving to San Francisco, I really suddenly stepped back and wanted to be safe and comfortable. I wanted to belong to something, and I really felt this need to want to be loved. I was, I think, 24 at the time, and I wanted to feel that safe warmth. So I stayed in Detroit where I was comfortable, where I felt safe, which for those of you who who only know Detroit by its reputation, you may think that sounds bananas that I felt safe in Detroit. And I was born and raised in Detroit, and that was always my home. So that's where I wanted to stay. And interestingly, the guy I met at that wedding stayed too. He didn't move to Chicago. We started dating. 3 years later, we were married. 5 years later, after spending a lot of that extended newlywed time building our life, we started our family. And I happily dove in and surrendered to that whole Midwestern suburban build that life, build that dream. So I was all in, and I thought that we were in it together. So suddenly feeling alone in the marriage was really, really demoralizing and kind of scary. And I didn't want to do what I knew I had to do next. Since all of my assumed efforts that I thought might make things perfect for him, make him happy again, since those things didn't work, I mean, hello, I needed to talk to him. I needed to get him to talk to me. I had to figure out what was wrong. I had to hear what was wrong so that I could fix it, right? Well, of course, when you know something isn't right, it's kind of nerve-wracking to want to address the situation because you may not like what you're going to hear. So I was always super timid. I would try and find the right moment and just kind of casually interject things, hey, is everything okay? You seem like you're really stressed out. I would just try and get him to talk. And he would always just kind of blow it off. No, I'm fine. I'm not feeling well. I'm really stressed out. I'm really tired. Just simple stuff like that, and shut it down right away. So I would increasingly try and get the same response, and he was getting increasingly more frustrated by my attempts to get him to talk because he clearly did not want to discuss it. So one night, I call it the night that changed it all, in 2012, we found ourselves standing in the kitchen. It was evening. I still remember it was June, and the kids were asleep upstairs, and there was just this palpable angst just like hanging in the room. I could feel his tension, and I decided this is the night I'm going to get him to talk to me. I was feeling my own tension. I was at the end of my rope, so sick and tired of just not being seen and feeling that aloneness. I needed to do something. I had to get some sort of feedback from him. So I went in and did not take his usual quick answers at all. I would not let it go. I followed him around and wouldn't let him leave the room until I got him to finally acknowledge me. And it was like a spigot just like turned on, and the words just came out of my mouth. What's wrong? What did I do? I know you're unhappy. I can tell. You don't kiss me. You don't look at me. Like, it just all came pouring out. And although I probably sounded like some kind of crazy person, it felt really good to let it all out, because I hadn't been bottling it all up. I'd been carrying all this angst and shame for so long, and that does not feel good. So I'm having my peace, and then he finally broke his silence, and he responded to me. And he told me that when he thinks about his future, he did not see me in it. He only thought about our children. He didn't really care about me. In fact, he hadn't felt that he loved me for a very long time. Hearing those words come out of his mouth that night was such a shocking blow. Certainly not what I expected to hear from him. And just processing it all, my veins turned to ice. That feeling you get when just your adrenaline just spikes, and it's that panic response. Oh, I went ice cold. And then I kind of went into this tunnel vision mode where, the world, the whole earth kind of started to sway a little bit, and then it kind of opened up, and I just felt it swallowed me, and I went cascading down a very deep, dark pit. I went into total shock. Mind you, if you were watching it from the outside, which I kind of felt like I was having this out-of-body experience, it looked like I was very much in the moment. I was having a complete hysterical sobbing fit, begging for him to forgive me, because I felt like I had wronged him in some way, that this was all my fault. And I was willing to do whatever it took to change his mind and convince him that he actually did love me and to keep my family together. But internally, all these things were happening on the outside. Inside, I went into a dark void. Like I said, I went into shock. I had a complete nervous breakdown. And I went into this state for a few days. I didn't eat. I didn't sleep. I was so just hollow, just empty and sad. I was on this brink of terror, but I was also just empty. And the only thing that really gave me during those days that I was in this state where I was just so stuck in my own mind, the only thing that really kept me moving forward was just thinking about my kids. I mean, here are these two babies. They're 2 and 9 months old. And they were brought into this earth by these two people who apparently, one doesn't love the other one, and the other one is a complete shit show at the moment. And I knew that I was not that person. I was not this weak, broken, sad sack. I was pathetic. And that's not what I am. I knew that then, even though I felt seriously worthless. I felt like nothing. And I did not want my kids to have nothing for a mother. I had to pull myself together. And that's what it was. I did not see the value in myself at the time. I saw the value in these two little lives who had no control over what was going on. So I picked myself up and eventually dragged what was left of myself out of that pit to rejoin the world of the living, because my kids needed a mother. And I knew I had to show up for them. And I really wanted to fight to keep my family together for them because they were so little. And I did not want them to have this idea of a broken home. I didn't want to have a broken home. But I didn't know what to do. Here I am now. I'm coming out of the state. Eventually, the sting did subside, and the fog that I was in started to lift its veil. And when I was more clear, when I could see the world around me again, it was super confusing because nothing had changed except for me, because now I knew what was going on, and it rocked my world. I knew that my world as I knew it did not exist. I felt like my whole life that I had been building for almost a decade was a lie. My marriage was a mirage. I had so many questions. Did I even love him anymore? I was so mad at him. I felt like I loved him. I desperately wanted to keep us together. I wanted to try and get him to love me. I just wanted it all to work. But I had nothing but questions. Now what? I did not know what to do. And he wasn't acting like he really wanted to do anything. He drops this bomb on me, and his behavior, other than that, didn't change. He just kept going about his daily business. Now, I will be very fair and say that he's probably super desensitized by that time. If he truly, which I believe, had not loved me for a very long time and had just subscribed to going through the motions, he was used to it. And he was just living out, his time that way. And that was not cool with me. But I took it as a sign that maybe there might be hope. If he wasn't going to leave me, then he was going to stay with me, and hey, maybe there's a chance we can actually, spark that fire and get things going again. So that's what I was committed to do. I was very hopeful that I was going to be able to take the reins, take control, and save my family. So weeks went on, and it was just kind of this slow motion churn, except that my mind was racing and reeling. The heaviness that was happening, and just the stress and the angst that I was feeling, because I felt like I was always at the edge of the other shoe possibly dropping. But I was really, really, I'm super patient and super optimistic. So I was just kind of hoping that we were going to get through this and make it better. And one morning, I woke up several weeks later. This was sort of change of the seasons, early part of autumn by this point in 2012. And my mind was reeling, as it was kind of all the time. And I woke up super early on a Saturday morning, and I couldn't get back to sleep. And it was like 6 a.m. And I decided, all right, you know what? I'm going to go out and I'm going to go for a walk. And at that point, walking and running had become my stress relief. That was my active meditation. I would clear my head and just kind of feel better. Those endorphins that peak when you're doing exercise, and the dopamine and all of the good surges that you get. Exercise and shopping, my two things that really kind of got me through my lost period of time, because they released those chemicals and made me feel better, or at least made me feel like I had some sort of hold on things. And the walking really did help me clear my head more. The shopping was more of a Band-Aid that wasn't real. However, this particular morning, I went out and I walked on my favorite trail, which wasn't very far from my house. Super densely wooded area, which is a little bit of a nice secret find since I lived in a neighborhood in suburban Detroit. And this day, the sun was just starting to come up. So it's that beautiful time of the morning and in the fall where it goes from dark to light, and the lightness just comes on really vibrantly. And I'm on this path with all these trees, and the branches and the leaves are all this beautiful golden yellow. So my path is just like firing up and lighting up around me when I was walking. And I was just thinking, God, this is glorious. And as I'm walking and really feeling this just deep sense of appreciation for the whole thing, I was hit with this really bright, you know how sometimes when the sun just whoosh, it's like there's possibly a cloud in front and the cloud clears and the light just gets super intense for a second. And that's what happened on this trail. I got this like intensity of the light shining through. And when I saw that burst of light, I had this lightning bolt go off in my brain. And I realized something about what I had been doing for all of these months. I had been trying to control every single element of what was going on around me to create this outcome, to avoid these things that I didn't want to happen. And the reality was, the only thing that I could really control was myself. And I had been trying to puppeteer and kind of orchestrate all these other things. I needed to control me. And what I really needed to do was to take a good look at me and to save myself from myself. Because what I was doing to myself was sending myself deeper and deeper down this negative road. And it wasn't producing anything. I was becoming more stuck and becoming more and more down on myself. So I realized then and there that I needed to do some personal work. I needed to do some personal development and really look at myself and how I was being and how that was affecting what was happening in my life. So I went home, and on my bedstand, I had a copy of the book, The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And I had read this book. My sister had actually recommended it to me years ago. And I read it then, and I thought, oh, this book is so good. It's so inspiring. And then it just sat on my bedstand. I had a lot of things on my bedstand. It was very cluttered. I told you earlier about the clutter. So I picked that book up again that day, and something told me, really take your time reading this book. Really consider what it says this time, especially since you're reading it twice. And I can think there's a very short list of books that I've read more than once. So I went through and I read it, and I actually, it's a quick read. However, while I was reading it, it was like the words were melting off the page and just covering and seeping into me. It's like the universe was speaking to me through that book. And I just was so taken by everything that it was saying, because that book was reminding me what I told myself on that walk at a much deeper level about paying attention to how I am showing up and what I'm being and how that creates the outcomes around me. So from there, I started studying and reading and accumulating more information, more knowledge and understanding from a lot of different resources to help me expand my perspective and really get a broader sense of things. And I read books and actually reread a couple of other books, but I read some books that I'm going to list right now because I think that they are noteworthy, important books that if you have not read, if you're going through a difficult time in your life, these books are very profoundly helpful. The 4 Agreements from Don Miguel Ruiz, as I mentioned, Marianne Williamson's A Return to Love, Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now, and I also went back and reread the Tao Te Ching. Those 4 really step out and rise to the top of my mind as recommendations that are very accessible. It doesn't matter what your belief system really is. These books speak to you at a certain level when you're going through change that can be very, very helpful. And then from there, and all of these other areas and things that I was looking at and some introspection that I was doing, I developed these 3 key pivotal understandings of myself. And you guys, as I am sharing the story and telling you about this stuff, please know this is not happening overnight. From the moment that I had this awakening on my walk to the point where I am about to get to, of this understanding that I came to that created this amazing shift within my perspective, how I view the world, how I see things, and how the things around me are happening because of this. This took years. From 2012 to 2014, 2015, I was doing this. So don't think that, oh my God, she had this 2-week transformation. It takes time. And I was doing this all on my own. I was very self-guided, and this was what I was doing for myself in between working a very, very high pressure job that took a lot of my time, still trying to work on and save my marriage, and be a mother to 2 very young children. So there was a lot going on in my world, and I was trying to really work on myself because I knew a better me would be better for all of the people in my life, regardless how things were going to turn out in the end. I was really wanting to be the best me I could be for me and for my kids because I knew that would be better for them. So that was such a huge motivator for me. So the 3 understandings that I developed are, number 1, I had to acknowledge that I am exactly where I am supposed to be right now. I am here due to every choice I have ever made. And I had to really let that sink in and understand that everything that has happened in my life is the result of a choice that I've made, and how I've responded to the things in my life have been the choices also that I have made. So the understanding number 2 that aided my significant shift in perspective was the sense and the real coming to the acceptance that I am a control freak. I was trying to control every element of my life, particularly those ones that I felt like I didn't have control of, because I wanted to manipulate the outcome so that I knew what was going to happen, so that it would be the outcome that I could see in front of me and it wouldn't be something scary that I didn't know. You know, the old, oh, I hate surprises. Don't surprise me. Buy me a present. Here's what I want. Oh, wait, I know. I'll buy it for myself and then I'll wrap it so that you can give it to me because I don't want to be surprised. I mean, how messed up is that? I used to do that all the time. What's the point, right? So I had to surrender. I really had to accept that my tendency to control situations was putting my focus on the wrong things, and I needed to become more allowing. I had to take my hands off the reins and just let things happen and not try to jump in and force things that weren't necessarily supposed to be. I had to create that allowance for myself, because focusing on the wrong things is what led me to my understanding number 3. And that is placing my attention and my intention on what I wanted, on the outcomes that I desired, not on what I didn't want. And that was a huge, huge game changer for me, because so much of what I was focusing on and so much of what I was creating in my life were these things that I didn't want. And just shifting and getting the negativity out of the picture opened up a whole new landscape for me. So coming to these understandings and really embodying them and putting them into practice created a huge, major shift in my perspective. I saw the whole world differently because I was being so much more in the moment, not dwelling in the past, not trying to hang on to something that was possibly not even ever there in the first place. I really needed to look at everything for what it was in that moment and consider allowing what should be to be. And then I had tremendous clarity. It is so easy to not know what the hell you really want when you are so focused on what you don't want. You are so driven by the fear of the unknown that you can't even consider what you could possibly want on the other end. But the clarity that I had in just settling into myself, first of all, made me appreciate and love myself in ways that I don't, if I ever have, it was definitely when I was a child. I had so much appreciation for my life, for everything around me. I had such a sense of confidence. I felt so empowered. I was just radiating, and I knew what needed to be done. And I had the conviction and the validation of knowing that I did not know what was going to happen and that it was okay, because the choices I was making were driven by my understanding and the clarity that I had about what I wanted. I wanted to have a better life. I wanted my kids to have a better life. I wanted them to see love. I wanted them to see, if they were surrounded by people who are supposed to be representative of people who love each other, I wanted them to see that. That was not happening in my household. So I approached my husband with the only two choices that I felt we had. Either commit to being all in to repair our marriage and build something new that we could both stand in and feel good about and be good examples to our children and be happy, or go our separate ways and build our happy lives apart. And his response was very quick, that there was nothing to repair as far as he was concerned. So, super simple. I mean, I say that sort of cheekily, but it actually was the very simple moment where, all right, well then, we're getting a divorce. And as much stigma as divorce has, you guys, I don't know about you. I hope you get to this point if you're not there yet in your life. My divorce is the best thing that ever happened to me. Because of my divorce, I was able to fall in love with myself. I was able to be the person that I want my children to see, and I was able to show my children the kind of life I want them to know. A life of someone living their truth, living out their passion, someone who knows that there might be a to-do list of expectations in their life, and to know that that is not what you have to live by. And the next really big phase to my reinvention happened well over a year after my divorce. And that was when I knew I was ready to make a bigger, bolder change, and I didn't know how. And I was really just kind of projecting out in my thoughts. I needed guidance. I needed something that was going to shine a light on what I wasn't seeing for myself. And that is when my guide, who in full disclosure, I met on July 4th, 2016, and that individual became my partner. He went through his own amazing life transformation over a decade before meeting me. and had been guiding people through their transformations and transitions and difficult points of their lives when we met. And and he and I just aligned and had a wonderful connection. And through our connection, and he began sharing with me and helping me see things and helping me ask myself the questions that I hadn't been asking. And I was seeing the things that I hadn't been seeing. He showed me the path that had always been there for me that I had never really noticed because my flashlight was shining over here, not over here, right? So he was a tremendous catalyst that really helped me just launch my total reinvention into the next stratosphere. From 2016 to 2018, I completely transformed my career. I left my corporate job. My last role in corporate America was as the vice president of sales for an advertising tech firm, where my joy in that job and my joy in any of the jobs I had really ever done were my people connections. When I was helping and mentoring and lifting people up and guiding them, I knew that's what I really wanted to do. I did not give a shit about how much money I was making for the company. The sales numbers, I loved making a lot of money because that told me I was being successful and that helped me buy all the things I want. But that didn't really fulfill me. It didn't really matter. That was not doing anything. Remember, we crumpled that up and threw it out the window because that wasn't doing it. So I made a significant shift in my career. I focused on becoming a professional coach and a guide to help people, to help women who have been divorced through their transitions, because that's the most important thing that has ever happened to me. That point in my life is where everything changed, and you have an opportunity to have the life you dream of. And I am here to help people do that. I feel so strongly. So that was the first thing that I did. The second thing I did, and this is not in any order, the order of importance maybe, because that's number one. I sold my huge house. I got rid of that house. I downsized. I released so much of my excess possessions. I learned to simplify and lighten my load, live a much more simple lifestyle. It's so much easier to manage and maintain your life and focus on what matters when you don't have shit all over the place that you have to worry about. And that also afforded me the ability to create a complete new life, relocating to an area that feeds my heart and my soul, that makes me so happy, that inspires me so much. No, I did not relocate to San Francisco. That was my dream as a child, and I love visiting San Francisco. I love traveling and going everywhere. But I relocated to northwestern Michigan, where I'm by the water and by the most splendid natural beauty that just makes me so happy. So being in the Detroit suburbs and that whole life that I was living, that whole shell cracked and the little bird flew out and flew away. All of those things I would not have made them all happen as quickly and as elegantly as I would have if I would have done it on my own without the help of my amazing guide, my incredible partner. So I have built the life that I love. I'm thriving. I am so happy. And I want to share that joy. And I want others to know how happy they can be, because they can. And that is the lesson that I learned. Taking those 3 understandings that I shared and everything that I went through, I learned the single most important lesson that saved me. 6 super simple words. Life is what you make it. It's something that I share with my clients. And when we really dig into it and when they understand what that means to them and how they can put that into practice, it changes their lives. And I love watching it happen because it saved my life. I made my life the life I wanted. So this is the question I have for you. Are you happy with the life you've made for yourself?
because you can be. And that's my story. That's my road to reinvention. So, cheers!
For tuning in to today's episode of Real RAD Women. Are you in the process of your own reinvention? Visit radnewlife.com to find out more about the resources and support you can receive to help amplify your progress. Find out where you are in your process and exactly what you need to do next to take the steps to move forward, and connect with a community that understands your experience and supports you. Again, visit radnewlife.com. And don't forget to tell your friends about this channel, and don't forget to subscribe.